Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 63rd episode of Kouryer Podcast. Today, I'm joined with Nicolas Mendoza. He's an architect and 3D environment artist from Bogotá, Colombia, which is now working at 2K Games in Czech Republic. And with that out of the way, could you please give us a little introduction on how you got into visual arts and design?
Sure. So, hello. I started as an architect first. I have always loved video games and 3D art ever since I was like a kid. And when I was studying architecture, I did a research project on video games and how video games affected the academia and affected like the world. Um, and little by little I got like in love of this media. I started practicing by myself for like 12 or 16 hours a day just to learn how to do 3D art, how to sculpt in ZBrush. um, I was really passionate. I remember that I even didn't go out to have some drinks with my friend just to stay practicing and looking at tutorials and things like that. Then I started to do some freelancings. I landed up here, and I'm quite happy with what I'm doing right now. Yeah.
All right, nice. And of course, you already mentioned, and I already mentioned in the introduction as well, that you were originally an architect. And of course, the thing that I want to ask you right now is: were you originally studying art or architecture from the beginning, or you were pursuing another career path?
Well, I began in civil engineering at the beginning, but it was too much mathematics, too much physics, too much calculus. So I felt like there was no passion in me to like pursue that career. So I decided to go for architecture at the end because I felt like I got like this love for space, for design, and for like creativity. And yeah, I finished it, like I finished architecture at the end. um, Practically I was more of like a theoretical architect, so I was more involved in research and doing academic papers. I was working with the university and along with also with my country on doing like some research projects, but that didn't like fill me, like fulfill me enough. So after I started practicing a lot with 3D and understanding the possibilities that 3D art has nowadays, I decided that I should become a 3D artist at the end, especially like specializing on environments.
Interesting. And it's so nice that you mentioned environments because I was going to ask what is your main branch of design and that you're focusing on, and also tell us about your experience from the start of it until now.
So I began working on a project from Nickelodeon Latin America back in the days. It was classified on one Facebook page or whatever, and they were looking for some 3D artists that have like some knowledge also in architecture and rendering. And I decided just to sign in. It was a small company of only 5 people, and we needed to like develop in 2 months a full-fledged environment for the series that was going to be like a live-action series, but was going to have like a video game inside of it. So I worked on that, and after that, I decided to do a video game by my own with all the people from the research group back in the university. So we created something that was called Asterion. Was a game about like the Minotaur from the Minos myth, from the Greek myth, from Minos. And we were contacted by Kickstarter on Reddit to promote our game there. We were really excited, but we were kids back then, so we didn't know how to like manage the project. We didn't know what it really takes to put like a game together, and to sell it and to promote it. So the Kickstarter campaign failed, but all the portfolio that I did on those on that year, it was like a year of like full-fledged work, allowed me to start working as a freelancer for other companies around the world. So I began working on United States on a game called Last Epoch that was promoted a lot at the moment. It is some sort of a Diablo game for the guys who plays games. I think that is the main comparison. Then at the same time, I was like a workaholic. I really worked like 16 hours a day. So mm, mm, having one job was not fulfilling to me. So I started to apply into other jobs as well because I really wanted to learn and I really want to like get experience from like a lot of things, not only from environments but also to experiment with characters, with VFX, we experiment with lighting. So I got another job at work on another project as a lighting artist, also as an environment artist and prop artist. It was on Spain for a project of like role playing game. It was a role playing game that you have like this device that was a screen, and you put like some miniatures on top of it, and you will cast the spells to your opponents. It was really cool. And at the same time, I got a job offer from a company called Kirarito Inc. in Japan, where I work as a look development artist, which is the one that kind of like send all the directions of how the game should look. I made like a first vertical slice to tell them like, okay, you need to have this type of artist, you need to have like this type of materials on your game, these proportions. They offered me a job to work actually in Tokyo, but ever since I started working on my first job, I have always have like this think of applying every 6 months to other companies around the world. And when they offered me to work in Tokyo, I also got an offer to work here in the Czech Republic, which of course I took it here in the Czech Republic, not because this was a better company, which it is, but also because I was really afraid of Tokyo, and I had like this feeling that Japanese culture in terms of work is really not for me, because they are too hard on themselves and things like that. So I decided just to go like for the easy way, quotes, because I had to like uh, live here by myself in another country, like finally out of Colombia for like too long, and then I have to encounter with this COVID situation by myself and things like that. So it was not easy. But yeah, this was the opportunity that I took. So now I'm here, and I'm really enjoying my work so far. In the meantime, like on the empty spaces between my freelancing stuff and things, I also participate in some contest in the US, where it was about architecture and art and storytelling. And I was lucky to win the first prize on the Blank Space Fairy Tales contest, which is a contest in Washington D.C. Um, and I was lucky to win it with one of my partner, and that also opened a lot of opportunities for me, and that is also one of the reasons that I landed a job here.
That sounds really like awesome. That's actually a dream of a lot of, I think, young people to, especially like from, I think, countries like South America or even my home country, Iran, um, that they want to get out of, their home countries to somewhere better.
Yes.
And it's amazing that there's opportunities for people like artists now that they can just follow what they love, get good at it, and get opportunities in life for it. And it's just amazing.
Yeah,
And
indeed, that's really cool.
yeah. So actually, I get what you mean because I'm also an immigrant as well. I'm living in Turkey now. I've been dealing with the Corona situation myself, so I know what you mean about
Mhm.
like dealing with this all craziness. And all right, let's go to move on to the next question. How does your design process usually go anytime you want to start working on a project?
So since I work on environments, what I usually do is just go into Google or into Pinterest and start looking for a lot of references. I think that is the main thing that every artist should do, and it's looking not only at what examples we have in the real life, but also what other things have been made by other artists, right? Because I don't think that we should be the ones in, inventing the wheel, but instead we should like improve it, right? Because for me everything has been already been created. We are not originals per se, but we can add our own personality to the work that we do. So with all of these references, I combine them, and I have like this first sketch of what I want to do, Then it depends of what I really want to achieve, right? If I'm going for like an sculpt, I will go into ZBrush and start sculpting my ideas of that sketch. If I'm going for like a 3D model, I will go instead into Blender and I will start making a block out with the main shapes and the main composition that I want to have on my asset on my piece, and then I will start polishing with other software down the line. So that is my main workflow so far.
All right. And next question is a bit like not art related question, but yeah, kind of art related, but pretty interesting one. Have you ever used your dreams as inspiration for your works?
Uh, my coming in.
Have you ever used your dreams
Oh,
as
yes,
inspiration? Oh,
of
could you tell
course,
us
yeah.
about it?
Yeah, I actually have some crazy dreams sometimes. I don't remember them all, but I have this thing where I always dream about the world ending, and it's super weird, right? Like this doesn't happen, but uh, for me it does. Like weekly, I have like this weird dream of the world ending, and usually find myself in these beautiful landscapes and things like that. So I use that a lot of inspiration. Like if I can remember the dream, I just go into Google, try to search for an image that is similar to what my memory allowed me to see, and then I will just go into Pinterest and put it there. And maybe that will become a project or not in the future. But yeah.
Interesting. And who are your favorite artists and designers that have inspired you the most?
Well, actually, I have a lot of inspiration from architects because I'm an architect. So there is Chumi, who is an architect who talks about storytelling in architecture. There is Peter Sumter that talks about the atmosphere of space, so how we are like designing atmospheres for the users, which in video games becomes like the mood that I'm trying to put for the player. Um, Now, as 3D art, I love the work of Gassetti, that is the art director on God of War. I love the work of Tyler Smith, who is a senior on soccer punch games. I think it's the name of that company. Um, I mean, there are a lot of artists. My favorite environment artist is Clinton Crumpler. He was actually my teacher back in the days. Uh, and I love his work. I love his work. I think that the amount of storytelling, the amount of considerations that he puts on lighting, composition, shape, organization, splatter is amazing. So I think he is like my main inspiration. Yeah.
Could you please repeat his name again?
Clinton Crumpler.
Clinton Crumpler?
Yeah.
Crumpler, all right. All right, very good. And what is the main subject of your artworks and what made them interesting to you? Of course, by artworks, I mean the works you do personally for yourself, not the things you're, of course,
Mm.
uh, assigned to do, in your work. I mean, the stuff you do for yourself. What are the subjects of them?
Well, I usually try to make some keyframes. I'm not that interested in making like these gamey environments, and you can see that a lot in my portfolio. I usually like just want to capture one moment in particular, and my main focus have always been to have like this central piece that the piece itself tells the story of the environment. So there are like three pieces that I have that are proof of that. One is a temple that has this elephant structure that is in front of it, and if you take a look at the piece, you can like just by seeing the elephant, you can see the story that all the environment has. The other one is a cathedral that has an angel of death on the center, which was great. Was actually made with the help of Clinton back in the day, and I always try to put like the person who is viewing the art into a perspective of discovery. Like the yeah the observer, the spectator just found out this particular moment that is I don't know how to put it, but like is stopped in time, right? So that precise moment is what I want to try to tell the other persons when they see my art.
That's an interesting point of view. And what technologies and softwares do you use for your artworks, and what made them, you know, your choices, of course?
So the main software that I use right now is Blender. One of the choices of using that software is that it's completely free. It's also open source, which creates a community that really works on the software. Um, it has a lot of tools, and I think that, well, back in my Colombian days, it was really expensive for me to get a license on software and things like that. And when you are doing freelancing, you need like some license to sell your work, right?
Hmm.
So Blender was a really good way to for me to start doing 3D art. And now, 3 4 years later, it has become like a really good tool overall. So I really recommend it. Other than that, I use ZBrush for whenever I'm trying to sculpt or add some details into my Blender models. I use Substance Painter for texturing, Substance Designer for creating materials and textures for my environments. I mainly use Unreal Engine for the rendering and the lighting and the setup of the shading. I don't like path tracing rendering that much. Honestly, I have never been that patient to like just put something to render and that's it. I prefer real time rendering, maybe ray tracing either. But those are my main supports right now. Yeah.
All right, very good. And any advice and tips for a good portfolio and resume for artists?
Yeah, a lot. For the CVs, for the resumes, I would say that you should try to keep it simple as much as you can. In a way that whenever a recruiter is going to see your page, it only sees one page and everything should be seen just with one look at it. Don't put the stuff that you have worked before, like a lot of years before. That shouldn't go there. Also, don't try to put like a lot of information. Just put the most important thing that you feel that really uh, talks about you as an artist, as a worker. And for the portfolio, I think it's really important to show your most impactful pieces. It's not about showing every single piece that you have been made, but the pieces that you truly feel that are like really nice for you, right? It doesn't matter if they are like still a work in progress or you feel like you have not achieved yet the level of this big artist out there. But it's your work in progress, right? You are also a work in progress as a human being. So show that. Don't be afraid of that, but just show a few, the most important for you, because quality is more important than quantity, and that's super important to take into account. Um, so yeah, and my other big important piece of advice is don't forget that even if you are doing a character, you're trying to send some storytelling into your piece. The main idea of all the pieces that you work as an artist is to tell a story to the one that is viewing the piece. Without a story, the piece is just only a technical test of you trying to like use the tools, and that's it. That's how what I have always been told, and that's what I feel right now. And you can see it like in things like, for example, Pixar, that every single thing inside the movies of Pixar have a storytelling. You can see it in games like World of Warcraft or all the games from Blizzard as well. Even the smallest prop that is being set up in that environment has some purpose or some storytelling, something to tell. So yeah, storytelling is a big plus. Don't do like generic assets, for example. If you want to do a screen or like a monitor for your PC and that is going to be presented on your portfolio, think about outside the box, right? Think outside the box. Try to add some cracks on it. Try to add some stains. Tell something that happened to that monitor. It's not about showing some product rendering. It's more about telling a story to people.
Pretty good point, actually. And what are you working on right now that you can tell us about? What kind of project is it? I mean, of course, if it's something then that there's an NDA involved, we can skip right past this question. But if that's not the case, tell us what you're doing.
Well, actually, there is an NDA, but
All right.
let's put it like this. I think that if you look into Google, there is a lot of things that have already been told about the game. So that is a homework for the ones that are listening. Yeah,
Oh, all right. So yeah, it's an environment art. That's all we need to know.
yeah, that's okay.
All right. And by the way, just speaking about the last question, about the resume thing I asked, could you please tell us the story of how the opportunity to work at 2K came by and what was the whole process of moving there? Um,
Yes, it was really difficult, right? Especially because I lived in Colombia, and that is an obstacle sometimes. Let's be honest. Mm, you are not from a first world country, so you need to start making some visas. You need to start talking with the embassies. Um, but when I began working on this, I started with an interview. They really liked my portfolio. They didn't send me an art test, which was a bit weird because I thought that this was a huge company and I didn't have like any experience working on like these big companies. But they didn't send me any art test. And I remember I did the interview on February and nothing happened for like 3 months. And then like in June or July, they contact me again and they send me an offer. And they told me like, okay, here is your salary, here is everything that you need to know. Here is your relocation package, and if you agree on these terms, well, then you can come to to the company and we will help you with the visas. And honestly, we were on the verge of like a social crisis in my country. We are still in that actually. So I decided, okay, let's go. It's my opportunity. It's time to move out. I was still living with my parents at that moment because freelancing works when you're like pretty famous, but when you are not, it is like a leap of faith. And there were like some months where I didn't receive any money, so I had to live with my savings, right? So I couldn't move out. So this was like the perfect opportunity to finally live by myself, uh, cross the big pond, the big sea, and go to Europe finally and visit it. So the company helped me out with some of the papers. I had to go to the embassy, the visa. I think it lasted for like 7 months until they approve it. And then on February, I came here. I worked for 1 month on the company in the office, and then I'm working from home ever since then. So I only have like this 1 month experience working.
no,
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, as soon as you entered Europe, the coronavirus started spreading, I guess.
Yes, it sucks.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not that bad working from home as well. I mean, yeah, it's fun to be in a work environment when around people you like, when you have good dynamic. That's always awesome. But maybe a lot of people will hate me for this, but I enjoy working from home.
Yeah, actually, working from home is really cool, right? Because you can take your time to do stuff. You will have like your own schedule. Uh, you can cook the food that you like. That's really cool. I can like drink beer while I work. I cannot do that at the office. But for me, I have been working for 4 years as a freelancing
Mm.
working from home. So this was like my big step of finally like going to an office, seeing people. Um, but yeah, it is what it is, right? So let's
Yeah.
hope that these things end as soon as possible or something.
Yeah.
But also, and this is super important.
Hmm.
This thing about working from home uh, has opened the consciousness of remote work for the big
Interesting.
companies.
Yeah.
And I have heard from a lot of big companies that are now like opening these positions for remote work for other
Mm.
people. And this brings a huge opportunity for people like me or for other people that lives in these third world countries. because you don't need the visa anymore, right? You are just signing a contract and it becomes like a freelance, but you are now not working with this indie company, but you're working on this AAA company. So it
Mhm.
is really interesting, and it opens up a lot of opportunities and possibilities now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what area beside the area you're working on right now, which is like environment, 3D environment art, would you be interested to explore and learn in the future? And it could be anything, even not art related.
Recently I have been exploring to work less on video games and more on cinematic scenes, more on keyframe art, concept art as well. I'm moving towards 2D because I want to experiment a little bit with that. And I also have loved the film industry for so long that I think it's like maybe I should give it like a chance and see what happens there. So that's what I have been doing so far. But also outside of art, um, I have always wanted to like do a podcast, same as you, but not talking about like art, but talking about more geeky stuff. I did a podcast a few years ago. It was really good, but because of time and because of my thesis on architecture and things like that, I lost the grasp of it. So yeah, maybe going back to that space would be really nice. To be quite honest.
Yeah, that sounds great. And actually, for stuff like that, I would recommend like doing the podcast live on Twitch if it's
Yeah.
possible. Yeah. And well, with everything that's been said and done, to conclude all we discussed, please give us a roadmap for someone who is zero in visual arts and wants to get to the place you are in terms of skill set. Like where to start, best tools, softwares, books, courses, anything. Like from someone who's here wants to go where you are. Now, what would that step by step look like?
Well, I guess the first step is sit down with yourself. And I would suggest if this is your first time going into visual arts, experiment with everything that is out there. Um, I I don't feel that you should like try to specialize into something, but instead you should try to give it a look and understand how everything works inside that spectrum, because it's huge. Like you have 2D, you have 3D, you have now VR art as well, you have augmented reality art. So just try to experiment, and that would be the first step, right? The second step is look into other artists that are really appealing to you. Not only look at the art of those artists, but also look at all the like all the road that they have to walk to be where they are right now. So look what they studied, look what other type of experiences they have. Create like those heroes for you that are not going to be heroes, but are going to be examples of who you can be, and maybe you can be even better than them. So that would be like your main focus, right? After that, I would say that don't be afraid of the tools. Never be afraid of the software. It doesn't matter if you model on 3D Max or on Maya or in Blender. Uh, just try them all and just use whatever feels like natural for you. Just try to experiment with them. Um, because for me, it was like a huge wall on my career, because game development companies usually only use 3ds Max. But if you become really good with the tool, it doesn't matter, right? Because what they really want is your art. They don't want your experience with the tool or the technique or whatever. They want you to that final product that you can achieve with your creativity. Um, Now, if I would say this because it happens a lot in my country, uh, just pursue your dream. I began working as a civil engineering, but that was not my passion, right? So even if your family tells you like you should go and be a doctor or like a lawyer, and you don't feel like you should do that, just don't do it, and just start from the beginning. Start doing some sketches for yourself. Start watching the best films that your favorite films, or you play your favorite games and understand how are they made, and take all that experience and learn from it, right? um, Finally, I guess I think it's really important. Show your work. Never be afraid of showing your work, even if you feel it's ugly. Just show it out there, and you will start receiving a lot of feedback. And I think that feedback is the most important thing an artist should have, because at the end, when we start working on some of our projects, we get blindfolded, right? And we think that this looks amazing and this looks like the best, and this is the final stage of this piece of art that I have been working on for the past 3 months. But then if you show that to another person, you will realize that it's not the final stage and that there is a lot of things to improve. So just be patient with yourself, show that, receive a lot of feedback, filter that feedback. Not all feedback is good. So filter that out and just keep growing. I think that we never stop learning. So my advice would be just keep learning a lot of stuff. And that's it.
Fascinating story. Well, thanks so much for coming by. Where can people contact you if they had a question? Is your Instagram okay?
Uh, Yeah, so my Instagram handle is Panic Pancho. You can
Mhm.
also find me on Artist Station with the same handle as well. And LinkedIn, well, you can find it by my name. I don't. I have Facebook, but I don't use it that much. So these three social media would be enough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll put your Instagram, I'll tag you in the post and also put it in the caption as well. Well, thank you so much for coming by, and thank you for anyone who's tuned in and listened,
okay.
whether on YouTube or the audio platforms. And that's about it. See you,
Thank you so
everyone, in
much.
the next episode. Bye. Take care.
Bye.